Have you ever felt a profound emptiness, a chilling quiet, even when surrounded by the comforting noise of life? Perhaps you've been at a bustling family gathering, seen old friends, or enjoyed a lively community event. And yet, a tiny, gnawing ache of loneliness lingered in the background. A secret you might not even admit to yourself. It's a paradox, isn't it, to be among people, but to feel utterly alone? This isn't just about being by yourself. It's a deeper, more insidious feeling that whispers, "No one truly understands." For many of us, as we navigate our golden years, this hidden loneliness can become a silent companion, something that surfaces unexpectedly, leaving us feeling isolated and misunderstood. It's a painful reality that so many experience, yet it remains shrouded in quiet dignity or even shame. But what if I told you that what you feel, what many of us feel, isn't always what it seems in this video? We're going to pull back the curtain on 5 hidden truths about loneliness in old age, things that no one really talks about, but that are so vital to understand if we want to truly connect, thrive, and feel genuinely present in our lives. Watch to the end for something that will surprise you, something that can truly shift your perspective. Let's dive right into the first hidden truth. A truth that might hit close to home for many of you. Loneliness isn't always about being physically alone. It's often about emotional disconnection, even when you're surrounded by people. Think about it. We often picture loneliness as a solitary figure, sitting alone in an empty house. And yes, for some, that is certainly a part of the experience. But for so many others, loneliness is a feeling that creeps in during a family dinner, at a social club meeting, or even while talking on the phone with a loved one. It's that subtle, unsettling sense that despite the presence of others, there's a chasm, a space where genuine understanding and deep connection should be, but isn't. You might share stories, laugh at jokes, and participate in conversations. But beneath the surface, you feel unseen, unheard, or fundamentally misunderstood. It's like being in a crowded room but speaking a different language than everyone else. This kind of loneliness often stems from a lack of emotional intimacy, not just physical proximity. We crave meaningful interactions, the kind where we can truly be ourselves, express our deepest fears, our quiet joys, and our unspoken worries, knowing we'll be met with empathy and acceptance. But as we age, our social circles can shrink, friends move away or pass on, family dynamics shift, our roles in life change, perhaps from a busy professional or a parent raising a bustling household to someone with more free time and fewer immediate demands. These transitions, while offering new freedoms, can also inadvertently strip away the natural opportunities for deep, daily connection we once had. The interactions we do have might become more superficial, focused on pleasantries or practical matters, leaving that deeper emotional need unfulfilled. Consider the feeling of not being able to talk about the things that truly matter to you. Maybe you've lost a spouse, and your friends, while well-meaning, avoid the topic, or their attempts to comfort you feel shallow because they haven't experienced that specific kind of loss. Or perhaps you're dealing with a new health challenge, and while your family asks how you are, you sense they don't truly grasp the day-to-day struggle, the quiet pain, or the impact it has on your sense of self. When these deeper experiences aren't acknowledged or can't be shared authentically, that's where the emotional disconnect sets in, and loneliness flourishes, even amidst the laughter. What can we do about this? It starts with recognizing this hidden truth within ourselves. If you feel this way, know that it's not a failing on your part. It's a universal human need for connection that's simply not being met in the ways you need it to be. The actionable step here is to gently, gradually, seek out opportunities for deeper connection, even if it feels vulnerable. This might mean joining a support group where people share similar experiences, Because there, you might find that genuine understanding. It could mean intentionally reaching out to one trusted person and saying, "I've been feeling a bit down lately, and I just need to talk about some things that are truly on my mind." It's about being brave enough to initiate a conversation that goes beyond the weather or the news. Sometimes, the fear of burdening others or the discomfort of vulnerability keeps us from seeking the very thing we desperately need. But opening up, even just a little, to one person can begin to bridge that emotional gap. Remember, true connection is a two-way street, and it often begins with one person daring to be real. Now that we've delved into how loneliness can hide even in plain sight, through emotional disconnection, let's explore another profound truth that often goes unacknowledged. This truth touches on something deeply human, the experience of loss, and how it can manifest as a pervasive sense of loneliness. Here's the second hidden truth. Loneliness in old age is often a hidden grief. We typically associate grief with the death of a loved one, and rightly so. The loss of a spouse, a sibling, or a lifelong friend leaves an immense void, and the loneliness that accompanies it is palpable and expected. But as we journey through our later years, we experience countless other losses that, while perhaps less dramatic, are equally potent in their capacity to trigger feelings of loneliness. These are the losses of roles, of physical abilities, of independence, of dreams, and even of our former selves. We grieve the vibrant, energetic person we once were, the busy parent, the successful professional, the avid hiker, or the person who could easily drive long distances. Each of these losses, large or small, diminishes our world in some way and can lead to a quiet, unrecognized form of grief that manifests as chronic loneliness. Imagine a woman who spent her life as a homemaker, her identity deeply intertwined with caring for her family. As her children grew up and moved away, and her spouse passed, her primary role evaporated, even though she may be surrounded by loving children who visit often. The deep, satisfying purpose she once had is gone. This isn't just an empty nest. It's the loss of a fundamental aspect of who she was, leading to a profound sense of loneliness for that lost identity. Or consider a man who was an enthusiastic golfer, spending countless hours on the green with his friends. A debilitating arthritis diagnosis means he can no longer play. He loses not only the physical activity, but also the camaraderie, the shared jokes, the ritual, and a core part of his social life. The loneliness he feels isn't just about missing his friends. It's about grieving the loss of a significant part of his former life and the connections that came with it. This hidden grief is insidious because it's often not openly acknowledged or mourned. Society tends to focus on the more obvious forms of grief, leaving us to navigate these subtler, yet equally impactful, losses in silence. We might feel silly or ungrateful for feeling lonely when we still have so much, but the heart knows no such logic. It aches for what was, for what has changed, and for the connections that came with those aspects of our lives. This unexpressed grief can lead to withdrawal, a feeling of not belonging, and a deepening sense of isolation. We might tell ourselves to just get over it, or feel guilty for not being happy with what we still have, inadvertently trapping ourselves in this cycle of quiet loneliness. The crucial step here is to validate these feelings. Give yourself permission to grieve these hidden losses. Acknowledge that it's perfectly normal and human to feel sad, frustrated, or lonely about the ways your life has changed. This might involve talking to a trusted friend or family member about these specific losses, not just a general feeling of loneliness. For example, instead of saying, "I'm just lonely," you might say, "I miss being able to drive myself to the shops. That sense of independence and seeing people along the way. I feel a bit lonely for that part of my life." Naming the specific loss helps to process the underlying grief. You might also find solace in journaling, writing down all the things you feel you've lost and allowing yourself to feel the sadness without judgment. It's also about finding new sources of purpose and connection that align with your current abilities and interests. This isn't about replacing what's lost, but about building new foundations. It might be volunteering, picking up a new hobby that offers social interaction but doesn't depend on past physical prowess, or even simply engaging with online communities. Recognizing and tending to this hidden grief is a powerful step towards alleviating the loneliness it brings, opening the door for new ways to connect and find joy. Now, let's turn our attention to another deeply ingrained, yet often unspoken, reason for loneliness in old age. This truth speaks to a very human impulse, one rooted in care and consideration, but which can inadvertently lead us down a path of isolation. It's something many of us do without even realizing the full impact. Here's the third hidden truth. A significant driver of loneliness in old age is the fear of being a burden. This is a profound and incredibly common sentiment, particularly among those of us who have spent our lives being independent, being the caregivers, the providers, the ones who always took care of things. The thought of needing help, of relying on our children, or of inconveniencing friends can be deeply unsettling, even shameful for some. This fear is often born from a genuine desire not to trouble others, a lifetime of self-sufficiency, and perhaps even observing situations where others became over-reliant and lost their sense of purpose. So, what do? We start to self-isolate. We decline invitations that might require someone to pick us up. We hesitate to ask for help with everyday tasks, even when they've become difficult. We might minimize our struggles or dismiss our own needs to avoid appearing weak or needy. Think about it. You might want to visit an old friend who lives a bit further away, but you don't want to ask your son or daughter for a ride because you know they're busy with work and their own families. So, you don't go. Or perhaps you're struggling to carry your groceries, but you won't mention it to your neighbor who's just offering a friendly wave, because you don't want to put them out. Over time, these small, seemingly thoughtful decisions add up. They chip away at your social interactions, reduce your outings, and limit your engagement with the world outside your home. Each avoided interaction, each unasked question, creates another layer in the wall of loneliness. A wall built not by neglect from others, but by our own well-intentioned fear. We inadvertently push away the very connections that could enrich our lives, all because we prioritize not being a burden over our own need for companionship and support. This fear isn't just about physical tasks. It extends to emotional burdens as well. We might hesitate to share our feelings of sadness or worry with our children, believing they have enough on their plates, or that they won't understand. We might keep quiet about our anxieties, thinking it's better to deal with them alone than to worry our loved ones. This emotional withholding, driven by the fear of being a burden, further deepens the sense of isolation. It reinforces the idea that our problems are ours alone to carry, cutting us off from the comfort and strength that comes from shared vulnerability. It's a tragic irony that the very quality of consideration and self-reliance that served us so well for decades can, in later life, become a barrier to connection. To overcome this, we need to challenge the narrative in our own minds. Firstly, understand that asking for help, especially from those who care about you, is not a burden. It's an act of allowing them to express their love and care for you. Most children want to help their parents. It gives them purpose and a way to give back. Your friends likely cherish your company and wouldn't mind an extra stop or a moment to listen. Start small. Instead of a major ask, try something minor. Would you mind grabbing a loaf of bread when you go to the shop? Or, I was hoping to tell you about something that's been on my mind. Do you have a few minutes? You might be surprised at how willing and even happy people are to lend a hand or an ear. Often, the fear is much greater in our minds than the reality. It's about reframing asking for help not as a sign of weakness, but as a healthy interdependent part of human relationships. This brings us to the fourth hidden truth, one that reflects a broader societal issue but deeply impacts individual experience. Loneliness can stem from a feeling of societal invisibility. As we age, especially beyond certain thresholds, there's a subtle but pervasive shift in how society, and even younger generations, perceive us. We might find ourselves feeling less relevant, our opinions less sought after, our contributions less valued. It's not necessarily overt ageism, but a gradual fading into the background. A sense of no longer being in the mainstream, of being past our prime. This feeling of being unseen or unheard, of becoming an invisible part of the social fabric, can be profoundly isolating. Consider the common scenarios of conversation at a family gathering where younger relatives mostly talk amongst themselves, assuming your interests are different or that you wouldn't understand, or going into a shop or a public service office and feeling dismissed, rushed, or spoken to as if you're less capable. These small, frequent occurrences send a clear message you are no longer quite as visible or relevant. This feeling can be particularly acute for those who held significant positions of authority or influence in their careers, or who were always at the center of social circles. When that spotlight dims, and the immediate demands on your time and intellect lessen, the quiet space left behind can feel less like peace and more like absence. You might stop offering your insights, perhaps thinking they won't be valued, or you might withdraw from discussions, internalizing the message that your voice doesn't matter as much anymore. This external invisibility then becomes an internal sense of isolation, leading to a profound feeling of loneliness for the vibrant, engaged self that once was. This truth is challenging because it involves societal attitudes, which are hard to change on an individual level. However, recognizing it empowers us to combat its effects. The actionable step here is to intentionally reassert your visibility and value, not by demanding attention, but by actively seeking out spaces where your experience, wisdom, and presence are genuinely appreciated. This could mean engaging with intergenerational programs where your life experiences are valued for their insights. It might involve volunteering with organizations that specifically seek the wisdom of older adults, or mentoring younger people who are eager to learn from your journey. It could be joining groups focused on lifelong learning, where discussions are rich and diverse perspectives are encouraged. Don't wait to be invited to share your wisdom. Look for opportunities to offer it. If a conversation feels exclusive, find a polite, gentle way to enter it, offering a relevant observation or question. Sometimes, people simply don't think to engage, not out of malice, but out of habit or a lack of understanding. By actively seeking out and contributing to communities where your voice can be heard and your presence felt, you challenge the narrative of invisibility and actively create opportunities for meaningful connection. It's about finding new platforms where your unique light can shine, reminding yourself and others that age brings not only wisdom, but continued vitality and relevance. And now, for the final, perhaps most surprising and often overlooked, hidden truth about loneliness in old age. This one asks us to look inward, to consider the role we ourselves might inadvertently play in our own isolation, not out of malice, but often due to deeply ingrained habits or past experiences. Here's the fifth hidden truth: loneliness can, at times, be a choice, a subconscious or even conscious decision to resist new connections or push others away. This isn't to say anyone wants to be lonely, far from it. But after years of living, we accumulate experiences, some wonderful, some painful. We might have been hurt by past friendships, experienced betrayals, or faced repeated disappointments in relationships. These wounds, left unaddressed, can lead to a protective mechanism and unconscious reluctance to open up, to trust, or to invest emotional energy in new social bonds. It's easier, safer, to keep people at arm's length than to risk another heartbreak or disappointment. We tell ourselves, I'm fine on my own, or it's too much effort to make new friends at my age. when perhaps, deep down, it's a fear of vulnerability masquerading as contentment or convenience. This choice can manifest in subtle ways. It might be consistently turning down invitations, not because you're busy, but because the thought of small talk or navigating a new social setting feels daunting. It could be a tendency to find fault in others, unconsciously creating barriers to intimacy. Perhaps you've developed routines that are so comfortable and self-sufficient that integrating another person feels disruptive. We might even find ourselves critiquing younger generations or complaining about the world, which, while a natural human tendency, can sometimes alienate those who might otherwise connect with us. This isn't a judgment. It's an invitation to introspection. Are there ways, however subtle, that you might be inadvertently contributing to your own isolation? Not out of desire for loneliness, but out of a very human need for self-preservation. The key here is self-awareness and a willingness to gently challenge these protective habits. If you find yourself consistently declining invitations, ask yourself, why? Is it genuine preference, or is there an underlying fear? If meeting new people feels exhausting, could you commit to just one small, low-pressure interaction a week, perhaps a coffee with an acquaintance, or attending a community event for just an hour? It's about taking tiny, deliberate steps outside your comfort zone. If past hurts are holding you back, consider talking to a trusted counselor or even journaling about those experiences. Acknowledging and processing old wounds can free up emotional space for new, healthy connections. It's also about cultivating an open, curious mindset. Every new person you meet, every new group you encounter, offers a potential avenue for connection. Instead of prejudging or expecting disappointment, approach these interactions with a sense of wonder. Remember how we discussed how loneliness isn't always about being physically alone, but about a lack of emotional connection, and how it can be a hidden grief for lost roles and abilities, not just people. We also explored the powerful impact of the fear of being a burden, causing us to retreat, and how the feeling of societal invisibility can leave us feeling unheard and unseen. And finally, this most challenging truth, that sometimes, in our attempts to protect ourselves, we inadvertently choose a path of isolation. It's a lot to take in, isn't it? These aren't easy truths to confront, but recognizing them is the first, most crucial step towards feeling more connected and vibrant in your life. The amazing thing is, once you bring these hidden truths into the light, you realize you have more power than you think. You can gently challenge that fear of being a burden by making a small, manageable ask of someone you trust. You can consciously seek out spaces where your wisdom and experience are truly valued, countering that feeling of invisibility. You can choose to be just a little bit vulnerable, opening a door for emotional connection. And you can gently examine those protective walls you've built, deciding which ones still serve you, and which might be holding you back from the richness of new relationships. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced any of these hidden truths about loneliness? What has helped you feel more connected? Your experiences are valuable, and sharing them can help so many others who might be feeling the same way. And if this video resonated with you, if it offered even a glimmer of understanding or hope, please give it a thumbs up. Liking the video helps more people find this content. And subscribing to the channel means you won't miss out on more insights and practical advice designed to help you live your best life at every age. Remember, small shifts in understanding and tiny, brave steps can make an enormous difference in how connected and fulfilled you feel. You are not alone in these feelings, and you have the power to weave new threads of connection into the rich tapestry of your life. Live your best life at every age.